is when we really struck up and really started speaking, get to knowing each other. February, we started getting to know each other even more and confess feelings and started really getting to know, like, morally, where are we? Physically, where are we? Not physically, but like, where's your headspace on marriage? Where's your headspace on family? What is your headspace on, finances? What is your headspace on, really like getting together and making this thing work? So that's where we were. We had already discussed all the hard things. Where's your credit score at? All of that. And like I said, the Bible never said I need to have my whole entire life together before marriage. And it's crazy to me that this is still a talking point. And I know how a lot of people feel. They're just like, well, if you want this in life, you want that in life, you need to make sure you can provide that and not depend on your spouse to provide that. And while I think that's a cool point, it's not a biblical point. And if I'm living my life by the Bible, it nowhere does it say I need to have all this together before I leave my father's house for marriage. So y'all can take that information and do as you please. What I will say is the Lord will have you do your work. The Lord will have you praying and fasting for yourself, over your life, over your child, over any future. If he does see marriage for you, he's going to have you pray for that. He's had me pray for it myself several times. And like I said, I do it because the Lord asked me to do it. I wasn't doing it because I actually thought I was going to get married. And I know a lot of you are like, well, you had no faith or anything. It's not that. It's just like I told the Lord at some point, I decided I would rather just be alone than have to deal with any form of dealing with a man. That's what I wanted. So when the Lord would tell me to pray for marriage, of course, I'd be like, well, Lord, if you're going to send him one day, if you send him and I happen to get married, I will pray this prayer, because I still wanted that to be healthy. I still wanted it to be godly. I still wanted him to be godly. So, of course, I'm still going to pray over those things, even if I don't necessarily see them for myself, but the Lord is wanting me to do so. And then he might put the feeling in me later. Like I said, same thing with having children. I don't have that feeling now, but that's not to say that I won't have it in the next 5 years, next 6 years. My husband doesn't have that feeling, but it's not to say that the Lord won't be like, hey, why don't you consider having children? And my husband had been single and celibate for 10 years. So even before I came along and just did my thing, he was single and celibate for 10 years. He wasn't bothered about women. He had fully prepared to live alone. He had, his own place. He was just fully prepared to be a bachelor until the day the good Lord took him out of here. And I was just like, both of us were on the same page as that. We were both done with dating and we work remotely. We are not outside. We are not talking to people unless they're online. And I think that's kind of the funny thing, because even when I was on dating apps, the Lord would tell me all the time, none of those men on there are for you. And I was like, Lord, didn't you just say that you was going to put me with somebody? And I'm not going to fight any blessing that the Lord has for me. So even though I was fighting him, like me and the Lord going back and forth, Lord, I don't want no man. I don't want nothing to do. And all this is all he's seeing and hearing. Is me in his ear. Yeah, you all right. So anyways, like I said, my husband had been single celibate for 10 years. He had not planned on finding a wife or anything like that. When I tell you there is favor and there is power with the Lord, y'all believe me when I say this, and a lot of y'all already know this. His dad, my father-in-law, that is a praying, favored man. Let me tell you something. And I'm just going to cut away to this before I tell y'all like the rest of the engagement, because everything happened so quickly. That year, seeing my husband in his room, because he would visit his dad, or he would be with his dad sometimes, and he would go over and he would play video games there, and his dad was coming back from church, and his dad is also engaged, so my father-in-law will be getting married later this year. He saw him sitting there. He saw my husband sitting there, and he literally said he had prayed to God that day, please send my son a wife. He said, no girlfriends, no this, that, and the third. Send him a wife. This is why I believe the Lord arranges marriages in the spirit, and all marriages are arranged, because I'm just like, what are the odds of this? Like, what is the odds of any of this realistically happening without the Lord? And I know a lot of people are going to want to say, well, it's secular people to know. Regardless of what secular people do, or regardless of what you did, you can always see where it was the Lord and how he arranged things. And to me, this was just that confirmation, because he said he was sitting there and he had asked the Lord, well, send my son a wife. Don't just send him anybody. Send him somebody who's a firm, praying woman who believes in the Lord, who's going to do right by him. I'm leaking again, Lord. God forgive me. I'm sorry, because that's gross. But anyways, and he said he prayed that for him. And just the favor my father-in-law has on him, things that he prays for, I've seen the Lord just answer it immediately, or the Lord will answer it over like a year or two's time, but the Lord will answer him. Even after we got married and I'd be praying over my father-in-law, the Lord always tell me he's favored, like he is blessed, and you know, he's this and he's that. So after my father-in-law prayed that prayer, like clockwork, he said, a few months later, he's hearing my husband in there giggling on the phone and laughing and everything. And he went in there one night and he was just like, who are you talking to? Because you don't go nowhere to know nobody. And so me and him at this point, this is mid-February, I had started FaceTiming him. So me and him would be FaceTiming each other. And he said he just flipped his phone around to show his dad who he was talking to. And it was little old me. So I was just like, this is how I know. Because the Lord really be arranging people in the spirit. A lot of y'all's parents and families are praying for you to have a specific spouse. You will get that person. Please be patient. Not only that, but before me, as they say, Satan will send you a counterfeit. Before I was really shown my husband, there was this one guy who looked similar to my husband, has the same body build, everything. And he came along and he wanted my number. I only gave him my number because I wasn't sure like what type of dude he was. So he was the counterfeit. He was very profane. He was very all over the place. And I was like, sir, I don't know what's going on with you. You need help. Goodbye. And I blocked him and I'd never talked to him again. And then the conversation with my husband happened. And so going back to my father-in-law, after he prayed that prayer of wanting a wife for his son, he was talking to somebody. I want to say it was a family relative that he knew, and they were talking about, well, I have a niece or somebody who is single, and I think that your son and her would hit it off real good. And so before my husband ever met the niece or whoever, my father-in-law had gone to an event where he got to meet the niece, and he knew her. They spoke. He knew some things about her and everything. Like I said, I'm not here to slander people. I'm just going on what he told me, but he was saying he knew immediately she wasn't the one. And so he prayed again, and next thing you know, hi. So like I said, sometimes the Father will send a counterfeit or send you somebody to distract you. And he said his main thing is she was I don't know if she was a non-believer or she was just very worldly or very secular, but he said he knew that's not who he wanted or who he had prayed for. So he never set up the date between the two of them. So that was that. And then, like I said, in between that time, weeks later, me and my husband were on the phone, just kiki and cacaing each other's ears off. And so it went from FaceTiming to, hey, we should plan a date, or we should plan like a physical date. And like I said, even before our first physical date, what was it? We were already talking about marriage. So this is maybe a month and a half in. So now we're in February, late February. So late February, we finally figure out like our timing. So we finally meet up personally, and it was the same thing in person. Laughs, smile. We would go out and just play video games. It was just a vibe. It was just even better in person, and it just got to the point where we physically felt like it was just time. The Lord will put it in you when it's just time for you to do something. And that something was us like officially getting married. So we set the date, and by late April, May, we were married. And so that went from maybe we had 2.5 months to 3 months of courtship. And courtship was us being on the phone, FaceTiming each other, or every other weekend when one of us had the finances, we would drive to go see the other person. And we would go to the mall, public places, just, areas where we weren't tempted, more or less. And so that's how that snowballed. And now it's going on. Like I said, we celebrated our 1 year back in May. And now we're going on 2 years. And so that's really what it is. The Lord, if he has your person, your person is going to come in a godly way. And like I said, there won't be necessarily a part 2 to this video. I will be sharing more or less what I've learned while being a wife, whether it's patience, how the Lord has, there's a such thing as godly compromise between a husband and a wife when it comes to certain things in life. But there's so much that I have to, like, I'll share with you guys. And I'm not going to be giving out marriage advice. Like I said, I'm going on 2 years of this. Any advice I get is from people who have been married at least 20, 30, 40 years. I feel like they have earned the right to give advice. Me, I'm just telling y'all what's been going on so far. And so, like I said, I will be touching on how both of us in the next video did not see marriage for ourselves. I will be touching on what that's like when you actually do get married and two people were not planning on getting married. I'll be touching on a blended family because now my son has a stepfather, and so on and so forth. I'll be touching on my personal feelings, and scripturally how, you know, all of that aligns and what the Father sees. But I just want to tell y'all that story, so thank y'all for hanging on in there with me. So yeah, that's how we met, that's how we married, and that's kind of where I've been doing. And shortly, when I say shortly, I mean a month or two later, after our wedding, we found a house. So when the Lord moves, he's going to move. And I need y'all to stop rushing it. But I'll be touching on all that next time. I love you guys. Mazel tov to all those who recently tied the knot. Mazel tov to you all that it's coming in the spirit. Maybe it hasn't manifested yet, or maybe the Lord is finally giving you those signs. Either way, congratulations, because it's going to happen. But I just want to tell y'all, yeah, test every spirit, you know, up your discernment, stay with the Lord. I love you guys. I'll get the next video out. Probably won't be today, maybe next week, but I love y'all. Bye.